James Pearce is going to be a first-round draft pick, but will Tennessee have a second first-round draft pick? Monday, Locked On Vols.
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Vols. I am your host, Eric Cain. Appreciate you guys for making Locked On Vols your first listen, your first watch here on a Monday morning. You guys know we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's over at FanDuel Sportsbook and on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Got a fun show coming up here today. Going to discuss some potential NFL first-round draft picks for the University of Tennessee. Jordan Reid, ESPN, has put out his post-Senior Bowl top 50 draft prospects. A couple of Tennessee Volunteers rank inside those top 50. Who are they? It's coming up in a matter of moments. Tennessee basketball just destroyed Oklahoma over the weekend, and why you can make the case that this was the most satisfying win of the season for Tennessee. And this is coming off a 20-point upset win over Florida at home 2 weeks ago when you were down 2 starters and 7 scholarship players overall. And then finally, I was over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium for the majority of the weekend. Their dress rehearsal series, the pizza series, what they call it. Some big takeaways from Tennessee baseball heading into the 2025 college baseball season from the reigning national champions. All that and more coming up here on a Friday show. Do want to remind you guys, Twitter Tuesday, X Tuesday, Mailbag Tuesday. There you go. Any questions you guys have on Tennessee football, basketball, recruiting, baseball, please send them in at _Cain or at Locked On Vols on Instagram, on Twitter. Of course, you can comment on this channel, on the YouTube, all that and more. Tomorrow, we will answer the questions for you everydayers. So I'm looking over at ESPN.com, and Jordan Reid, who is one of the top ESPN draft analysts, draft predictors, all that and more. This is kind of his season. Mel Kiper Jr., for all those years, Todd McShay for a little bit, and of course he's not with ESPN anymore, but Jordan Reid has been kind of on the up and up the last couple of years, and he put out his 2025 NFL Draft rankings post the Senior Bowl, there we go, and inside his top 50 draft prospects are a pair of Tennessee Volunteers. We all know the first one's going to be James Pearce. Where did James Pearce come in terms of his top 50? Well, James Pearce slid in at number 22. A quote, this is from Jordan Reid, 6'5", 242 pounds, Tennessee edge rusher James Pearce, has an A-level acceleration and closing speed when rushing the passer, helping him to a 19% pressure rate, which was second in FBS, and 7.5 sacks. His speed, coupled with a dynamic first step, allows him to race past blockers and causes them to abandon their technique. Pearce can stand up or put a hand in the dirt, though there are questions about his scheme fit. He is a bit inconsistent as a run defender and needs to add weight, so he'll probably start the NFL career as a situational rusher. That's I agree with. I agree with all of that. He can certainly put his hand in the dirt. He can stand up. He did both of that at Tennessee. When you're projecting to the NFL, traditional 4-3, there's not a whole lot of that. 4-2-5, you still see a smidge of 3-4 in there. Where can he line up, technique-wise on the defensive front? If they bring him back or down, can he slide inside? He is only a little over 240 pounds, so he absolutely needs to add weight wherever he plays. So I can see the question marks about scheme fit. I understand the inconsistencies in terms of run fits and all that, so I get all that. And James Pearce, who you got to take it all with a grain of salt, right? I mean, he was the the bee's knees, right? For lack of a better words, right? For a mantra or slogan or whatever, comparison you want to use him for, this last summer and last spring. Pro Football Focus adored James Pearce, and CBS Sports adored James Pearce, and he was getting some top 5, top 10, even top number 1 overall pick love at points in times last offseason, and you knew that probably wasn't going to stick. It's not like James Pearce had a bad season. He did not have a bad season. His sacks went down a little bit, but his pressure rate was up there among some of the best in the country, and all that and more according to some of those individual metrics. So James Pearce had a fine year, but in terms of the talk last offseason, he is not going to be drafted that high. I don't think he'll be drafted in the top 10. I still don't think he'll be drafted like between 20 and 32. I think somewhere in the mid-teens. I mean, somebody's going to see him and see everything that he offers and say, ooh, I need that. Let me work with that. I can see him being drafted anywhere from 10 to 15, but we'll have to see. But Jordan Reid has James Pearce Jr. coming in at number 22. And there's another one. Who else do you think Jordan Reid ranked inside his top 50 NFL draft prospects post-Senior Bowl? Well, the answer might surprise you, and if you follow NFL draft rankings and coverage and all this, if this is your season, this doesn't surprise you. But if you're just casual, if you don't follow this very closely, then this might surprise you. It's Omarr Norman-Lott coming in at number 44, 6'2", 295 pounds. Quote, Norman-Lott was a utility player on a deep Tennessee defensive line, but managed to flash in almost every game. He is a quick accelerator off the ball, and his first step quickness causes plenty of disruptions. The biggest question mark surrounding Norman-Lott is his play share, as he played fewer than 20 snaps in 8 of the 13 games in 2024. He has loads of potential as a full-time 3 technique, and I'll continue to be higher on him than most because of his ability to penetrate the first level. End quote. Again, that's Jordan Reid on Tennessee's Omarr Norman-Lott. Jordan Reid loves him some Omarr Norman-Lott. He's been talking about him for the last couple of weeks, and I would agree with a lot of this as well. Tennessee has a deep defensive line. The way Rodney Garner plays up front is he doesn't want that gas tank to be empty in the fourth quarter. He wants something left in the tank for all of his guys, so you don't have a lot of guys who play a whole lot of snaps. It's kind of like a rev share, right? I mean, everybody's getting a little taste of the action. But your better players need to be in there more than not. James Pearce got high snaps. Omari Thomas got high snaps at times. Omarr Norman-Lott, I feel like, and again, I'm not at practice every single day, but I do know there were some points in times throughout the last 2 years where he wasn't doing it the way Rodney Garner wanted him to do it. Therefore, he didn't play as many snaps as he possibly could have. Points in times he missed a complete half, without playing, and then would play in that next half. And though none of that was public knowledge or anything, or, in terms of a public suspension or something, that kind of makes you think that was the case at points in times throughout the last 2 years. But very good player, very disruptive. I mean, he had 5.5 sacks from the interior spot in 2023. I think he's going to be a really, really good NFL player. Had a phenomenal Senior Bowl down there in Mobile a couple weeks ago. So will Tennessee have 2 first-round draft picks? I'm going to say no. But will Tennessee have 2 guys drafted in the top 45 and the top 50? Yeah, I think so, because I think Omarr Norman-Lott's just going to continue to climb a little bit. Obviously had a great week at the Senior Bowl. He's going to do an excellent job at the Pro Day coming up in a couple of weeks. How does he interview with NFL scouts? We'll see. But I think Omarr Norman-Lott will be the second volunteer drafted for sure. Again, Elijah Simmons tweeted out that he's accepted and will be attending the NFL Combine. No other Tennessee player has done that so far. Other Tennessee Volunteers will be represented at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis, but none of them have made that their intentions known. Tennessee will probably do it all at one time, but there will be more outside of Elijah Simmons. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Now you go over a way. This isn't necessarily Jordan Reid. This is kind of a collection of ESPN's talents. If you go over to their NFL draft page, you go to the best available. And I wanted to kind of go back through here. We did this a couple months ago. I wanted to go back through here and see where Tennessee draft prospects rank in certain positions. Well, you had Dylan Sampson as the 10th best running back, which is still just so hard to believe. The SEC Player of the Year. But Ashton Jeanty was a Heisman finalist. Marion Hampton in North Carolina was fantastic. Same with Caleb Johnson of Iowa. We know about Quinton Judkins at Ohio State. Cam Scatterbo at Arizona State. A player, I want him on my team. He should not be ranked that high in terms of his position. Certainly, he should not be ranked ahead of Travion Henderson of Ohio State. What are we doing? RJ Harvey of UCF. He had a really, really good year. Trevor Etienne, I'd have him down. Damian Martinez, I would have him down the list. And then there's Dylan Sampson. I would have Dylan Sampson in front of Damian Martinez, Trevor Etienne. At the minimum. It is a very deep running back class, okay? We know that. It's a very deep running back class. Guys behind Dylan Sampson include Jordan James of Oregon, Ollie Gordon of Oklahoma State. There's a couple of Jaquez Hunter of Auburn, Rocket Sanders of South Carolina. I mean, there's a couple of really good running backs behind Sampson as well, but Sampson comes in there in terms of positional rankings at number 4. Brew McCoy, number 20 at wide receiver. Amari Thomas, number 12 at defensive tackle. Omarr Norman-Lott, number 16 at defensive tackle. Again, Jordan Reid super high on Omarr Norman-Lott. Doesn't mean the rest of the ESPN brass believe so as well. Keenan Peely, number 12 linebacker. I'd still be surprised if he's drafted, but good for him, showing up on those rankings. James Pearce, number 4 edge. The overall tab, if you go best available overall, James Pearce, the number 11th ranked player, according to the overall tab. Amari Thomas, number 100. Dylan Sampson, number 103. Omarr Norman-Lott, number 134. Brew McCoy, number 189. Keenan Peely, number 201. No mention in individual position rankings per ESPN's NFL Draft. Cooper Mays, Javonte Spraggins, Dante Thornton, or Elijah Simmons. So, again, depends on who you want to look at. I'm looking at ESPN right now. The Athletic will say something different. CBS Sports will say something different. There's so many different outlets that cover the NFL Draft, and this is NFL Draft season. You're going to see different rankings and different conversations each and every week leading up to the NFL Draft. But one thing is for sure, James Pearce will be a first-round draft pick, and potentially, I think Tennessee's going to have a borderline first, second, first couple of picks in the second round. And I think that could be Omarr Norman-Lott. What do you say? Tennessee and the NFL Draft, how many top 50 prospects will be drafted? Let me know at _Cainer and at Locked On Vols. Hey, when we come back, Tennessee basketball destroyed Oklahoma. Was this the most satisfying win of the season? It's coming up next. We continue on here, your Monday Locked On Vols. Hey, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. There's no better place to get in on it than over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action, and you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into the same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game more exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three. I never feel like I've missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use. When you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com to join today. Shoot your shot for a chance at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Was Tennessee's 18-point win over Oklahoma on Saturday the best win of the season? Hey, it's Eric Cain here on Monday's Locked On Vols. Maybe not the best win. Tennessee's win over Florida obviously comes to mind. I mean, Tennessee had some early season wins that were huge. Tennessee was ranked #1 in the country. But I'm talking about satisfying because, Tennessee fans, we as sports fans, we watching basketball, we get so annoyed when the basketball is not going through the hoop. It's sloppy, it's gross, it's an ugly style of play. It's like watching Tennessee football this year. You won 10 games, but that's not good enough because you're not scoring 45 points a game. I understand the offense has got things to work on. I'm making light of this. I mean, you got to look in the mirror. You got to figure some things out. Josh Heupel's got to do that. Nico's got to take a step. But my point is, Tennessee played outside of 2 games, and that's frustrating. Conversation for another day. Tennessee played a damn good style of defense this year. Yet, so many times, we were just frustrated because, it's gross. You're not winning in different ways. Who cares? You're not scoring 30 points. It is scoring 45 points or throwing for 300 yards or, whatever. It's funny to me sometimes. And you see that at every fan base and everything because we just want boom, boom, boom. Tennessee's basketball's brand is not necessarily like that. It's certainly not like that under Rick Barnes. Dalton Knecht last year was electric and it was fun. It's fun to watch him. For the most part, you don't think offense, you don't think high shooting percentage and all that and more when you think of Tennessee basketball. On Saturday, boy, was that different. Not necessarily points, but man, Tennessee shot 60% from the field in this basketball game. Tennessee shot almost 70% from the field, 69.2%. Really, really nice in the first half. Incredible. Made 18 of 26 baskets. Shot 50% from the field in the second half, 11 of 22. 29 of 48 overall, 60%. 42% from downtown. Made 9 3-pointers, 9 of 21. Again, only 70 points. Final score 70-52. Tennessee over Oklahoma. But that efficiency, that percentage from the field is beautiful. And it started from the get-go, right? Tennessee hit 6 of its first 7 shots. Made 5 in a row at one point during that stretch. Took an early 13-9 lead. Okay, that was in the first 5 minutes or whatever. I remember I made a comment. I was obviously over at the baseball stadium during the game on Saturday, and another media member was over there, and he had it pulled up on his iPad. And when I left my car, the game hadn't started, and over the course of the 4 or 5 minutes it took me to walk from where I parked into the stadium and around the construction and all that, I looked down at the iPad, and it was like Tennessee's up like 15-11 or whatever it was, and I'm like, holy crap, like the game didn't even start when I left my car. Like, that's how fast Tennessee started out. So made 6 of its first 7 shots, including 5 in a row during that span. Led 13-9 just, within 5 minutes of the game. Tennessee missed a shot, then made 8 consecutive shots, extending the starts of shooting 14 of 16 from the field, 5 of 5 from 3, went up 14 points. Tennessee led 33-19 with 8:57 left in the game. So the way Tennessee started this basketball game was incredible. The opposite of the way it started against Auburn, the opposite of the way it started against Kentucky, the opposite of the way it started against Missouri the other night. Chaz Lanier personally scored 13 points during that stretch, 5 for 5 from the field in the first 10 minutes of the game. Man, that is pretty good. It was Igor Milicic that gave Tennessee its largest lead right before the half, 22 points. It was a 4-point play. Hey, drink if you foul a 3-point shooter. We have to drink all the time because Tennessee does that. It happened to Tennessee. 1:56 to go. Tennessee led 45-23 at that point in time. And again, I mentioned the figures, 69% from the field in the first half, 58% from 3. Tennessee had a 9-0 run that started with a 3-pointer from Zakai Zeigler. First 4:22 of the second half that helped Tennessee grab a 28-point lead at 68-40. That was actually with a little under 5 minutes to go. Excuse me. Not bad at all. 68-40 with 5:30 to play in this game. Tennessee was just super efficient from the field. Tennessee was very, very good from the field. Tennessee started out hot. And you look at the box score, and it's not like Tennessee had one player that just went off. Sure, Chaz Lanier scored 21 points. He was 3 of 10 from downtown, 9 of 17 overall from the field. That 21 points is good. 17 points for Zakai Zeigler. But you know what I like about Zakai Zeigler's stat line? Those 17 points, he shot it 8 times. He didn't shoot it 14 or 15 times. He shot it 8 times. He was 6 of 8 from the field. He was 3 of 4 from downtown. Okay, 17 points. He had 4 rebounds, 9 assists, SEC leader in assists, averaging a little over 7 a game. He had 4 steals. I mean, Zakai affected the game in so many different ways. But of the 17 points, I love that he only shot it 8 times. So those are your only 2 guys in double figures, but you got 8 apiece from Igor Milicic and Felix Okpara. You got 5 from Jemai Mashack. You got 5 from Jordan Gainey. You got 4 from Cade Phillips, who played 21 minutes in this game. I love when Cade Phillips goes in there. He's such a spark plug and energy booster. Darlington Stone Dubar played almost 12 minutes in this game. So just an efficient team and a team win. And sure, Oklahoma's not very good, okay? I'm not trying to act like Oklahoma's good because it's not. But this is a team win. And the way Tennessee started from the field in this basketball game, really, really encouraging. But, of course, we know the slate never gets easy in this league, right? Tennessee is now on the road for quite some time. It's going to be on the road in Lexington against Kentucky on Tuesday. Certainly needing some payback because I'll stand by this. That was still a bad loss at home the other night, whenever Tennessee lost to Kentucky. So, on the road at Kentucky on Tuesday. It's back home at 1 o'clock against Vanderbilt on Saturday. Let's see here. And then it gets the week off after that game before heading to College Station the 22nd, and then it's in Baton Rouge on the 25th before coming back home and taking on Alabama, a monster showdown on March the 4th in Thompson-Boling Arena at the Food City Center. So great stuff from Tennessee basketball. Probably not the best win, okay, but maybe the most satisfying win simply because Tennessee just jumped out of the gate shooting offensively, looked good doing it, and were super, super efficient with their shot selection, including Zakai Zeigler, who I thought was fantastic. All right, we'll see what Tennessee does at Kentucky. A massive, massive game coming up at Rupp Arena on Tuesday. We'll recap it all on Wednesday's Locked On Vols, and, of course, we'll look ahead to that matchup on tomorrow's Locked On Vols. Hey, when we come back, though, let's talk a little Tennessee baseball. the dress rehearsal series, the pizza series, who stood out, who's going to start ball games for Tennessee during opening weekend coming up at the end of the week. All that and more is coming up next as we continue on here on a Monday Locked On Vols. The reigning national champions are set to take center stage for opening day on Friday. Opening weekend against Hofstra coming up from Lindsey Nelson Stadium Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It is that time of the year. And sure, there's a lot of questions. I was over at Lindsey Nelson Stadium this past weekend for 2 of the 3 games in what they call the pizza series, which is essentially just something fun they named, I think, either at one time or maybe still so. The winning side gets pizza or whatever, but call it the pizza series. And what it is it's a rehearsal of, the final dress rehearsal, if you will. They put on game jerseys. They split the team. It's an inter squad, but typically one side has the quote-unquote starters in the lineup, and then the other side will have reserves, but those pitchers on that other side team will be the quote-unquote starters, or they will throw their guys the way they want to. So the best pitchers are throwing to the best hitters, so on and so forth. And there's a lot of questions. I was over there for Friday and Saturday's game. I got notes on the Sunday game. Over the fall, coming into early in preseason, in conversation with people, I thought, Liam Doyle, Tegan Kuhn's a freshman, and then we'll see maybe a Nate Snead with a piggyback, or maybe a Brandon Arvidsson, or maybe a Dylan Loy or something. That would be kind of the plan to begin the season on the mound. Well, Liam Doyle is going to be out there for sure. According to the pizza series, Marcus Phillips got the start on Saturday, and he was trailed by Nate Snead. And then on Sunday, it was Dylan Loy. It was Dylan Loy who got the start, and he was trailed by Nick Abraham. And so, very interesting. And I will say this, and talking with some other people who cover the program and some people over there within the program, there's not that season opening tournament where you're facing number 17 Texas Tech and number 22 Oklahoma, and then whatever Baylor was ranked last year. There's no, we're going to face a top ranked Arizona and then a highly touted what other teams that they faced throughout that tournament in Phoenix a couple years ago. My point is, you're facing Hofstra this weekend. So there's time to sit there and kind of figure some things out. And what it is we as a fan base, we have a football mindset. So every loss in baseball is the end of the world sometimes. But I need to know these answers now. And baseball is very figure it out. What matters is March the 15th when Florida comes to town, because that's when the first SEC series of the season is. So what Tennessee and what every ball club around the Southeastern Conference and really around the country is going to be doing for the first month of the season in non-conference action is figuring it out. So based on the pizza series, if they follow that script, it's Liam Doyle on Friday, Marcus Phillips on Saturday, and Dylan Loy with a hefty piggyback behind him on Sunday. Will they follow that script to a T? I don't know. We'll see. We speak to Tony Vitello in a media setting on Tuesday. We will ask him that question. But I will say Liam Doyle looks like a Friday night starter. He's been fantastic this offseason. His velo's up. He's dropped some weight. He's looked fantastic. Marcus Phillips, his last 2 outings in preseason have been really good. Now, he got touched up a bit on Saturday. Manny Marin, who I'll get to in a moment, hit him for a solo home run, an RBI single. I think he gave up 2 runs, both to the same player. But, he worked, I want to say 5 innings last week in his start. He worked 4 innings the other day in the pizza series. Marcus Phillips has looked good, and the staff has always seen the potential there for Marcus Phillips to be a starting pitcher, but it's just never materialized. He's been so inconsistent throughout his Tennessee career. Here's to hoping he can find that consistency, and it looks like, again, based off the pizza series, that Marcus Phillips might be a starter for this baseball team to begin the year. And then Sunday was really confusing because I thought Brandon Arvidsson would start for the team facing the starters. I thought Tegan Kuhn's, the freshman, would actually start as well, potentially. I did not see Dylan Loy being the pitcher that was opposing the quote-unquote starters. Now, on Sunday, both Brandon Arvidsson, who was the other starting pitcher, and Dylan Loy got quick hooks. They didn't look very sharp. Tegan Kuhn's didn't pitch until later in the inning, or later in that game, in Game 3, and he absolutely mowed down the part of the order that he faced. Was facing the starters. He faced Levi Clark, who was fantastic this weekend. In fact, walked off game 2 with a 3-run home run and a 6-run bottom of the 9th inning for his team to come back and win. Manny Marin, who I mentioned, was phenomenal against Marcus Phillips. Drove in 3 on Saturday. Had a good game on Friday and another good game on Sunday. But, it was Tiki Coons that kind of mowed that part of the order down. Looked really, really good doing it. And I'm curious because kind of like they did last year where they brought Schaefer and Matthew Dallas out of the bullpen in high leverage situations that opening weekend and then kind of let them get some midweek work. They started some games on the, I think Schaefer started a Sunday game shortly after that. I think that could be the Tiki Coons route. So even if it is Doyle, Phillips, and Loy opening weekend, it might be Doyle, Snead, Coons the next weekend. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't think what you're going to see opening weekend is going to be carbon copy what you see the next weekend and so on and so forth. They're just very much in figure it out mode. But I thought Nick Abraham pitched really, really well on Sunday. I thought Tanner Franklin has been phenomenal out of the bullpen. He looked good this weekend. Ryan Combs, I believe he had 2 saves. Let's see here. No, he had 1 save, had the opportunity to have another save on Sunday, but you can already tell he's going to be a late inning, high leverage guy. Luke Payne, I thought, looked pretty good. I mean, Tennessee's just got an embarrassment of riches on the mound, so it's going to be very much kind of figure it out mode, and I'm intrigued to kind of see what Tony Vitello says about the pitching plans and how he wants to go about it to begin the season on Tuesday when we speak to him. Andrew Fisher did not play third base this weekend. He has a shoulder tweak a little bit, what I've been told. He's hit a lot in preseason. He's hit some in preseason. He's played some defense at first base where he wouldn't be throwing more than anything. He did play a little bit of third base last week. He warmed up at third base a little this weekend, but he didn't play third base at all this weekend. In fact, on Sunday, he appeared as a defensive-only first baseman for a couple innings. I've checked on him. I've asked about him, and every time I've asked about him, they said they're just being precaution, or it's just being precautious, just trying to make sure he's ready to go. The fact that he wasn't out there playing third base this weekend, in my opinion, it's a little telling. So I'm going to continue to follow up on that at the time of this recording. I haven't heard back as I've reached out to ask about him. But, I mean, long-term, he's going to be fine. Same with Cannon Peebles. Cannon Peebles has not caught in preseason. He didn't in fall, but he has not caught after coming back, having a sickness, rushing back, kind of overdoing it a little bit. He's hit every step of the way. In fact, he's hit really, really well, but he's been the DH. Cannon Peebles hasn't been behind the plate an awful lot, but you want him to be okay. You want him to come along and to be peaking later in the year instead of trying to do everything in the month of February. So going to check on those 2 guys. But in place of Andrew Fisher with the starters, Ariel Antigua started third base in Friday's game, did fine. Manny Marin, true freshman, started at third base in games 2 and game 3, and he's been phenomenal. He's got a better bat than Ariel Antigua, and he's got a really, really good glove. Nobody's got as good of a glove as Ariel Antigua, but Manny Marin's got a much, much, much better bat right now. Much better bat. And I'm interested to see what they plan to do with Manny Marin. If Andrew Fisher can't go for opening weekend, I can see Manny Marin being your opening day starting third baseman. If Reese Chapman struggles to begin the year in right field, what's the plan there? Could Manny Marin slide out there and play right field? I think there's some options here. Levi Clark, who again is a true freshman, who's gotten work behind the plate at first base. He started in the right field as well. He's hit the ball very well. I didn't even mention Stone Lawless yet. Stone Lawless had a pair of 2-run home runs this weekend. Again, it's exciting. I'm throwing a lot of names at you and a lot of stats and everything from this past weekend, but bottom line, Tennessee's got a lot of options. Tennessee's got a whole lot of talent, as always, and I'm intrigued to kind of see the way things kind of shift and kind of settle into place over the first couple of weekends of the season. Dean Curley and Gavin Keelan both flip-flop between second base and shortstop all weekend long with the starting team. Both of those guys will play both second base and shortstop throughout the first part of the season. I ultimately still think Dean Curley's your shortstop long-term. I just think he's more comfortable at short than he is at second. But those, Gavin Keelan can play either. Those 2 guys are starting middle infielders, okay? And they're your 1-2 punch in the top of the order. Dean Curley's number 1. Looks like Simo out there, leading off, wearing number 1. He's a big presence. That 1-2 punch to begin the lineup is going to be awesome. And then finally, my last note, Jay Abernathy's your starting left fielder. Okay, he was a starting left fielder every single game in the Pizza Series. with this past weekend, and he just continues to make plays. I cannot wait to see what Jay Abernathy does this year. I think he's going to have a really, really nice year. So a lot of stuff thrown at you right there, but overall, it's going to be a work in progress. So don't expect everything you see on Friday to be the end product. What you see on Friday, if they make it to Omaha this year or regional play or even Hoover on down the line, it's going to be different. They got to work out some kinks a little bit, but that's the nature of the beast. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint, but boy, Tony Vitello has got a whole lot of talent to work with, as he always does. Appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to Locked On Vols here on a Monday morning. Get in your questions, your comments, your concerns at _Cain at Locked On Vols. You can comment on this video on the YouTube channel. Almost to 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it. Download us wherever you get your podcasts. That's how we continue to grow the show and get it in front of more and more Tennessee fans. Appreciate you guys, as always. Until tomorrow, have a great rest of your Monday, everybody.